Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of VIBELAND Sports. It's episode 21. I'm Todd Beilein, joined in our studios tonight by Casady Fletcher and Kelby Peterson. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going, Todd?
Going wonderful. How about you, KP?
I cannot complain. Life is good over here.
Good. He is kind of over there isolated, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. We keep him on that side of the room.
Don't put Kelby in the corner. But you did. And I just spoke in the third person. I didn't like that at all. Don't put baby in the corner. It rhymed. That's what I was going for.
Oh, my. All right, on today's show, we're going to talk Division II college baseball with the legendary head coach of Oklahoma Baptist University, Bobby Cox. We'll also unveil a new fan poll that's coming up involving the Dallas Cowboys, a topic in which we will discuss, and a whole lot more coming up here on episode 21. All right, guys, let's begin by talking NBA basketball. The conference finals are set. The 1 and 2 seeds, Toronto and Milwaukee in the East, Golden State and the 3 seed Portland Trailblazers in the West. Let's start with Portland. How about that shot, or Toronto? How about that shot by Kawhi Leonard to send Philadelphia home?
Have you guys ever seen a crazier ending, a bounce like that? I mean, at all angles.
Wow.
I've rewatched the shot at least 30 times today, and I still see it, and it doesn't look like it should have gone in. It hit the front rim. Please, some scientists explain to me how that ball went in other than Kawhi magic and Toronto magic. And how cool was that, guys? And the first time in the history of basketball, Game 7 buzzer beater, and on what some would say would be a bad shot, a deep 2, but Kawhi made it, and he went to that spot. You saw him looking for it. He dribbled to it. You know he has practiced that shot a million times, and that scenario has played in his head and his practices a million times before, and I'm sure just like his practices, it went in. It was unbelievable to see, and what an atmosphere, what a moment, what a call. I know you guys are big broadcasting nerds.
Yeah.
I loved how he shot it, and the announcers just let it sit, let it silence. Again, I've rewatched this play 1,000 times, and I've loved when it hits the rim, nobody in the crowd is moving. It's complete silence. The announcers are quiet, and then as soon as it goes through the nylon, and just eruption by the announcers, by the crowd. It was one of the coolest sports moments I have ever seen.
It was like time literally stood still if you're watching the crowd. I mean, you can see him kind of get really into the shot. Then you know just by watching that it hits the rim and they don't think it's going to go in. And then all of a sudden you see everybody erupt again. It was a cool shot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you go through basically the entire spectrum of emotion in about 2 seconds while that shot's in the air. It looks like it's going to be good, and then, oh, no, it's short. And then I'm telling you, I still don't understand. It bounced 4 or 5 times on the rim before it finally went in. And I've seen it probably 30-plus times as well. I've seen it to different music. I've seen, I mean, it's become like the most meme thing on the internet right now, and I love it. It was an incredible shot, an incredible finish to a series that Kawhi basically just dominated from start to finish.
And how's about this, guys? I was talking to somebody about this today. If the Raptors are down by 1 right there, they're tied. If you're a Raptors fan, are you not furious about that shot selection? If you're down 1 and that's the shot you take, I mean,
but
it's a tie game.
that's probably not the shot he takes down 1.
But again, like I said, when he has the ball, Kawhi dribbles and gets there. It wasn't a catch and shoot.
No.
He put himself there. So obviously that's a spot he's comfortable with on the floor. But as a casual fan,
at worst case scenario, I see what you're saying, but they're going to go to overtime.
Right, exactly.
Overtime, Game 7 on your home floor, you still
when
like
you're tied, I don't think that's a bad shot. But if you're down by 1, because what my point was, if you're down by 1 and you miss that shot, we're talking about what a bad shot selection that was, but we're not, because he makes it. And again, like I said, we don't know Kawhi, but I would assume that's a spot he's comfortable with, because he had 4 seconds and he chose to go there. I mean, that's where the opening was, but the whole time his head was down. That's seem to me to be where he was aiming for, that baseline jumper. So,
you know, it was a lucky shot, and it wasn't the highest of percentage shots, but he got off a clean look.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
I mean, he was just a little bit leaning to his right. The thing that made that what it was that it hit the rim 3 or 4 times. It wasn't necessarily because the worst shot ever to close out a series. It's just the fortuitous bounce of the iron. But if you're Philadelphia, come on. This team's way too talented to be going to a Game 7 with the Toronto Raptors, who are very, very reliant on Kawhi Leonard. I have confessed to this show more times than not, probably, that I grew up a diehard 76ers fan. I mean, I'm referring to the Billy Cunningham days back in the 70s and 80s with Dr. J and all those guys. That's who I cut my teeth with on NBA basketball. I was a Philadelphia 76ers fan until Oklahoma City got a team. They're still probably my second favorite team. But there is a lot of guys on that team I can't root for. I do not like Joel Embiid. I don't like Jimmy Butler. Even as good as they are, I don't like them. They have a very, very great collection of talent, but there's something wrong with that team. And I think it starts in the fact that I don't think there's anything personal between these two guys. Ben Simmons and Embiid, their games just don't go together. They
Not
just
at
don't
all.
go together. So they need to move, in my opinion, one of those guys to get some other pieces that I think really solidify them.
They've got a point guard that can't shoot from long range, and then a
Yes.
center that probably shoots from long range a little bit too much. I mean, I think
bad balance.
Embiid, I like his shot selection. I might be being a little too harsh.
But the
there,
problem with him is, can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
He could be an all-time great player if he stays healthy, but I don't know that he can. That's a big if.
the answer has been no thus far. I mean,
That's
he's
right.
never played a full NBA season. He missed his entire rookie year. The end of his career at Kansas. I mean, he's never been healthy in the history of his basketball career. So, I mean, he is a game changer when he's on the court. There is nobody like him. There's not. I mean, he is a unicorn out there. There's not a lot of guys like him.
But he did disappear in a couple of
He
these
did.
games. And when you have a guy that's that impactful and you count on for that much on both ends of the floor, he can't just all of a sudden just lay an egg in the semifinals.
He disappears, and then in Game 6, he was a plus 40.
I know. It's like, what in the world?
That is the that is the definition of an inconsistency. I don't know where you're at, and you're a plus 40 in a Game 6 elimination game for your team. He's out there, like you said, Todd. His talent is next level, but his mental state, he doesn't have that Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum killer instinct.
Did you guys by chance see or hear Chris Broussard this week proposing a Houston-Philadelphia trade? And I like Broussard. I
no.
think he really knows his stuff.
Oh, no.
I didn't
He
hear this. Don't scare me.
proposed Houston, Daryl Morey getting on the phone and offering Chris Paul for Ben Simmons. Now, who in the hell in their right mind would even say something like that?
What?
Chris Paul's in his mid-30s. If you don't believe me, go the next time Houston is in Oklahoma City and watch him break down before your eyes, as opposed to a 24-year-old point guard. Okay, maybe Simmons is the guy you move. I don't think it is. I think I would move Embiid first because of the injuries.
Agreed.
But you're sure not trading Ben Simmons
I
for
think-
Chris Paul.
That's a losing trade for both sides. So let's pretend this happens. So
Well, it's not a losing trade for Houston.
I think it is. The Sixers get an injury-riddled point guard to match with their injury-riddled center. Then you get Ben Simmons, the driving point guard who can't shoot, to pair up with the best shooter at his two guard. The 1-2 punch of a one who can't
But
shoot.
he can
and
kick out to James
He
Harden.
can kick, but I don't think that's a good lineup. I mean, I'm just thinking of this live and off.
Well,
the
no,
cuff
it's
right
not
here,
a good
but
trade.
I don't think it's a good trade.
I would
either
not
side.
take. Yeah, there's no way. If
It's a good trade for Houston.
yeah, if I'm Philly, there's no way in the
Elton Brand hangs
Ever.
up the phone if that call's made.
Oh
I
my
promise you.
gosh! Like that's just asinine. I mean, why in the world would you give away a guy again that he's young? Look, his shot is bad. It's very bad. But we've seen guys get better in their late 20s, early 30s. A lot of guys have to become jump shooters because their athleticism starts to leave. You can become a better shooter over time, but you're not going to get any younger. So that's just an ignorant thing. For
I
him
could
to-
not believe it when I saw it. I could not believe it. I mean,
I like Chris
There-
Broussard too.
I do
man.
too.
I
think
usually
the guy's
do,
really
but
good.
yeah, that's just, I don't know. That's out of left field.
Okay, so the Philadelphia 76ers are in their familiar place. Offseason begins after the Eastern Conference semifinals. Now it's the top two seeds, as everybody thinks, the two best teams in the East, Toronto and Milwaukee. I'm going to tell you, Milwaukee is rested. I think at worst for the Bucks, it goes 6, and this series very well could be over in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks are the real deal. We talked about it last week, how they're just head and shoulders above pretty much every other team in the East, and I think they're 1A on the power rankings. If you're going to look at it, Golden State, I still think is just almost untouchable, but Milwaukee's not far behind them when they're operating at like peak efficiency levels like we've seen them do it. I mean, they dominate the paint and they dominate from the three-point line, and they also have a pretty good mid-range game. There's no holes in their offense, and they play good defense. That's a tough team. It's a very difficult matchup, I think, for Toronto. And look, I think Kawhi can get them a couple games. I have this thing probably in 0-6.
I agree. I think it's over in 6. I almost wanted to say 7, but again, it's
No way.
the Bucks. I think are just that much of a better team. Toronto's got the right pieces. This is the best roster Toronto's ever had. More than likely, this is their best chance they've ever had. But they're running into a buzzsaw. They're running into Giannis. There's guys. I think the Raptors have the best chance to guard the Bucks, and you can put Kawhi on Giannis. You can put Pascal Siakam on Giannis. If Giannis is staying down low, you could even get Serge on him a little bit. I wouldn't go that route because Giannis is going to out-athletic Serge by a significant margin. But I think Toronto's got the best lineup to hang with Giannis, but I don't think they do. I think the Bucks dominate this series, and I think, like you said, Todd, the rest is going to be a huge, huge factor here. 5 games compared to a grueling 7 and a last-second buzzer-beating shot to win it in 7. I think the rest is going to be a huge factor here.
No way it goes 7. I will be nice and say 6, but I'm not convinced it won't end in 5. That wouldn't shock me at all. Let's move to the Western Conference. I think the best matchup in the playoffs just occurred. And I said 6 games, Golden State over Houston. Golden State closing out the Rockets in Houston last weekend. KP, I want to ask you a question. Rightfully so, Russell Westbrook gets a lot of criticism for the shortcomings of the Oklahoma City Thunder in the playoffs. At what point does James Harden stop getting a pass for the Rockets' lack of success in the postseason?
I mean, they keep running into the same Golden State Warriors buzzsaw, but you have to start I mean, dude, you've had this is the 4th time in 5 years that they've been knocked out by the same team. I mean, again, we're playing a super team, but James Harden, he had a good game. He's not going to that next level. He's playing at a star level and at a superstar level, but he's not playing at that Steph Curry, I'm going to win this CJ McCollum, put the team on my back, this Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to go off and hit the shots when I need to. He's hitting the great shots, but there's that next level that he's towing the line of, but he has not crossed that line yet. And here we are, another season, after the game, well, we just, we'll just got to see what we can do to get better at the end of the year. I mean, that's the cliche, James, but at the end of the day, like, I think he's going home and thinking, it's just the Warriors, man. Like, I'm as good as I'm going to get. I don't know that he's to that next level, James. Yeah, you averaged 36 points a game this year. Sorry, dude. Got to be more. It's crazy to say that, but it's the truth. That's what your team needs.
Yeah, and he has to be more of what we see in the regular season from him day in and day out. I know it's more difficult in the postseason. You are the focal point. Teams get to play you multiple times in a row. By the end of that series, you know what the other team's going to do before they do it. But James Harden has got to find a way to break through that. It's been a problem going all the way back to his Oklahoma City days in the postseason. He would just occasionally lay an egg, and you can't do that when you're the number one guy, when you're getting paid the way he is, when you're an MVP. You have to go out and just find ways to take it to that next level, like you're saying, Kelby, and to take over games. And look, they had the best opportunity they're probably ever going to have. They were going to be playing a KD-less Golden State Warriors.
Oh, let's talk about
in Game 6 and 7, and they couldn't do it.
Let's talk about Game 5 for a second real quick. Sorry to harp back on this. KD goes out. The last 8 minutes and 30 seconds, James Harden takes 1 shot.
Come on.
That, if I am his coach, I've called every timeout I have and am screaming at him, dude, you had here's the silver platter. It couldn't have been served up to you any better way. This has been your Achilles heel. These are the guys. This is your chance, dude. Here's the knife, and their throat is waiting for you to slice it. Go do it.
Yep.
and you take one shot in the last 8.5 minutes. Back to what Todd's point, if that's Russell Westbrook, he is getting crucified. I promise you, those next questions that he's given after the game, the questions that are being asked is, Russ, why are you taking one shot? I didn't hear the press conference. Did anybody ask him? Did anybody call him out for that? Because it sure didn't seem that way. Twitter did, but did anybody say, hey, James, the best player in basketball right now is off the court. Let's be nice and say, oh, we're going to be nice. The game's not different. The best player on planet Earth is off the court. You pounce. That their throat is exposed, you go for it, man. This is the guy. If you're a Houston Rockets fan, I mean, there is only one team that I think might hate the Warriors more than the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's got to be the Houston Rockets.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Oh, how frustrating is that if you're a Rockets fan? You have to capitalize on that. And the fact that he takes one shot, it's unacceptable.
And I think that goes back to, though, to show you how good and how deep Golden State really is. You can take the best player in basketball off of that team, and honestly, I think they might have played better.
And your
without him.
superstar goes scoreless in the first half?
Yeah. And exactly. And there's Steph is just unbelievable. What he did in the first half, just laid an egg, but then came back and dropped 33 in the second half. Come on.
So in an elimination game, your two best players go for 0 points because KD doesn't play. Steph Curry in the first half. Steph Curry goes for 0 in the first half, and you win that game. Again, as a Rocket fan, you got to be looking yourself in the mirror. As a Rockets franchise member, you have to be looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, hey, their two best players accounted for 0 points in the first half. How on God's green earth did we lose that game and that series?
It's crazy. I mean, I think that, again, they dropped the easiest chance that they're going to have to make it to past Golden State, at least in this era of Golden State. I don't think you're ever going to see a better shot against the team when you've got Game 6 at home and they can't even force a Game 7. Another huge performance, though, from Clay in a Game 6. That guy is just a stone-cold killer. When he gets going, he is just almost unstoppable, and we've seen it before. Clay and Steph get hot. Draymond does his thing, and they've got enough role pieces around him, role players that can just keep the ship afloat until those guys get back whenever they have to sit on the bench. And look, it's the playoffs. Guys are playing heavier minutes anyways, and when you have that kind of depth that Golden State does, it's crazy. And that's without Boogie Cousins as well. Might as well mention that, who could possibly be back at some point this postseason, they're saying now. So Golden State is just, I mean, it's a wealth of riches, and the rich are getting richer.
Well, here's what I've said forever, and I believe I'm dead on this, and I think a lot of other people believe this too. The Warriors never needed Kevin Durant. They never needed him. What they needed was to neuter their biggest threat in the Western Conference, and it was the Thunder. And I truly believe if Kevin Durant would have stayed, Oklahoma City would have been to the finals the very next year. They were very close to knocking off a 73-win team. So what do? You take the best player off your biggest competitor. Now, there's no doubt Golden State is 10 times better with Kevin Durant on the floor because he's the best player on the planet. But they're also a team that it's not lightweight when he's not out there. In fact, I think as a unit, they play better. I'm not saying they're a better team. I think they play better. There's more movement. There's more cutting away from the basketball. They play like the old Golden State Warriors pre-KD. And so, yeah, it's a break you don't face Durant, but I'm going to tell you what, there's still plenty there to win a World's Championship without ever having KD step on the floor again. There was one reason and one reason only that they wanted Durant. Now, did he make them better? You better believe he did. But he also took away a huge problem for them in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it basically just paved the way for them to the Western Conference Finals every year. And now when KD goes out, it's like, okay, well, we'll just redistribute his 20 to 25 shots to Clay and Steph and some of these role players that now it makes it even more difficult to guard them because they spread the floor so well and everybody knows their role, and that ball moves just unlike really any other team in the NBA. It's ridiculous. I mean, they can play just about any style. They can compete with just about anybody. And if you get into a shooting contest with them, good luck, because we've been saying for almost 5 years now, oh, well, this shooting's got to cool down. Well, it kind of did, but they still got past the Rockets, and they're back in the Western Conference Finals. And I think they got a very favorable matchup in Portland that they're going to be facing.
But I don't know that there was any less or any more favorable matchup for anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I think
obviously Denver and Portland
yeah.
are about the same, and Denver's playing with, which I was wrong on that deal. I thought Jokic would be the total difference in that series. That wasn't the big difference. I mean,
with
C.J.
Nurkic
McCollum,
out, yeah.
Damian Lillard, those guys are the ones that stir the drink. Lillard didn't have a great series. It was C.J. McCollum, but I'm going to tell you what, Portland may get two at home. I'm going to say Golden State in 5 in the Western Conference Finals.
Yes.
I agree, and I think I'm being a little bit generous with 5. I wouldn't be surprised with a sweep, but they'll give them the gentleman's sweep.
I would.
5.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it'll happen because I think Portland's playing well enough to at least get one at home.
And how about Portland pulling out that Game 7 on the road? Again, back to Denver. Todd, you said that Nurkic was going to be a huge factor for Denver, and I agreed he was, but at the end of that game there, he was a huge factor in the wrong direction for Denver. Denver missed 16 threes in a row.
Man.
Nurkic had 2 really, really bad turnovers at the end of the game. When he threw it right to Damian Lillard, just gave all the momentum to Portland. And how about C.J. McCollum? And how about Portland as a team, guys? Again, I've admired them since the Thunder series. I've never... when the Thunder lose in the playoffs, I usually hate the team that they lose to, and I just get sour, and I'm like, oh, we should have beat them, could have beat them. But Portland, I've never been more impressed with a team that knocked the Thunder out. I've kind of started to like that team. I like the grit. I like their hustle. I like the way they play together, and I like the way they play off each other. And
I like Terry Stotts.
I like
Yes.
Terry. I like the way Damian Lillard yesterday. He is the man, but he knows when he's struggling. He struggled on Game 7, and so he goes, here, CJ, take it over, man. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to get rebounds. I'm going to make these hustle plays, make the right moves, make the right passes, take control, and take care of the ball. But I know you're the man at the end. You're the hot hand. Go get him, dude. And C.J. McCollum with a pull-up mid-range jumper. The basketball nerds will tell you that's a bad shot, and he takes it right. And, the defenders, assuming C.J.'s going to drive all the way to the basket, C.J. stops right at the corner, pulls up, and just hits a dagger pull-up 18-footer for 2 to put him up and take the lead and kind of put the game on ice. But, yeah, basketball nerds will tell you that's a bad shot, but C.J. McCollum says, give me that. And, by the way, I was looking at CJ's shot chart in Game 7. He took 10 shots outside of the paint. Basketball nerds would tell you that that's bad. Now, 3 of those were threes outside of the paint. Now, he went 1 for 3 on threes. So, on those 10 shots he took outside of the paint, 7 for 10 on those shots. Like I said, 1 for 3 on the threes. So, that means he was 6 for 7 on outside of the paint twos. Basketball nerds will tell you that's a bad shot, but if I'm the coach and the player tells me, hey, I'm going to go 6 for 7, you take those 6 for 7 wherever you're out on the floor, dude.
Day.
Take them.
And you look at that's what Milwaukee has been so good at this year is finding ways to get just to kill you with twos. They don't have to shoot 43s a game in order to beat you. Well, that was kind of the same thing that C.J. McCollum decided. Like, look, I can knock down these threes, or I can drive and get to my spot. Yeah, and just it's almost automatic from him. I mean, Russ has what he called the cotton shot that from the elbow. That's kind of what McCollum was doing. He was getting to that left elbow area. And every time he pulled it up in the last 5 minutes of the game, I just expected it to go in because he is just a cold-blooded killer.
Okay, a couple other things we're going to get to, so let's move on very quickly. 2 things more with the NBA. Anybody surprised about Beilein leaving Michigan to go to Cleveland? Cavaliers now have hired 3 straight head coaches with 0 NBA coaching experience.
Yeah, that's a weird hire. So I've got a buddy who's a huge Cavs fan. He's from Cleveland. So because he's from Cleveland, he's a Cavs fan, he's a Browns fan, he's a Buckeyes fan. I asked him, how do you feel about this hire? And he goes, I'm happy for 2 reasons. He goes, first reason, we just stole Michigan's coach. So Michigan just got worse at college basketball. And 2,
no, they didn't.
Yeah, you're probably right. He goes, I like it. He goes, it seems like he's a young guy. He's a great coach, and that's kind of what the Cavs need right now. They're a young roster with young players. So this guy who's coached Michigan for a while, dealing with young players, he's got a young roster. So, I mean, I'm not a big fan of bringing the college coaches into the NBA, but let's see how it goes. But like I said, I have one Cavs fan, and he was fired up about it.
Yeah, I think it's just really about the most Cavs thing they could possibly do. Uh, I mean, we've seen what the Cavs are when LeBron James is not a part of that organization, and it is a dumpster fire. And I think this is just falling in line with exactly the kind of thing that they do. Look, it's a young coach. Yes, he's going to have. They've got a pretty young team. They're going to continue to be probably getting some high draft picks for the next few years, and so he's going to continue to be coaching young talent. But I feel like there's a huge gap between college and NBA coaching and what's required of these coaches. And look, sometimes it works out beautifully. You look in Boston, I feel like that's one of the best situations that I've ever seen. And sometimes it flames out and it doesn't work at all. And I'm afraid with the Cavs, it seems to not work out more than it does.
It'll be interesting. I think college basketball experts were not caught off guard by Beilein leaving. I was shocked when I read it earlier this week. I will say this, Michigan's going nowhere as far as basketball is concerned. They should have their pick of a very top-end coach, I would think, with the way that program is set up right now. Other thing, did either one of you guys think KD blew his Achilles? I thought he did. I thought he had blown his Achilles out when it happened.
I don't know enough about the injury, but from all analysts, I mean, he reacted the way most people did.
Yes.
But knowing KD and seeing him before, I mean, he didn't. When I've seen guys that have blown their Achilles, they're on the ground grabbing at their ankles. So the fact that he walked off under
I'm just
his own,
saying initially it looked like it happened.
Yeah, that's why my reason that I say I don't think he blew his Achilles, which is obviously the truth now, is because he wasn't on the ground grabbing at it. But that's just me being a normal fan watching sport. The guys that I've seen blow their Achilles, when they know it, they're on the ground screaming. So the fact that he was a positive sign. But Reggie Miller, listening to him talk about it, sure. I mean, if I'm a Warriors fan, that would have scared the crap out of me. He goes, "That's exactly what Kobe did." I mean, that looks like an Achilles. All guys who aren't experts were real quick to say that might have been, but I didn't. Initial look at it, it didn't look that bad to me.
Yeah, I just figured that I wouldn't get lucky enough for that to be that bad of an injury, but no. In all seriousness, I thought that he was going to be out for the rest of the postseason. I thought it was whatever it was. Initially, when he went down, I just thought, oh, this just got a little more interesting now. Now the storyline is going to be can Golden State win without KD? But it looks like he's going to be back for the Western Conference Finals and. Man, just, again, the rich get richer with Golden State.
This is episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports. If you've missed any of our bonus podcasts or the prior 20, join us and follow us on Apple Podcast or Spotify. You can subscribe, never miss another episode of VIBELAND Sports. Okay, let's move to the NFL. Dak Prescott, one of the big three for Dallas that the Bills are about to come due for Jerry Jones. There are reports that he may demand and command $30+ million a season. I'm sorry. He's not worth it. And if Jerry Jones does it, which I think he will, it's going to create long-term salary problems for the Dallas Cowboys going forward with Amari Cooper and then on down the road with Ezekiel Elliott.
Like I said earlier before, I mean, they've said that Cooper and Dak are the offseason priorities right now. But if I'm the Cowboys, Cooper is number one. I mean, in my opinion, number one priority to re-sign and pay the man, the guy that deserves to be the highest paid player on that roster is Ezekiel Elliott. Dude led the team in receiving, in catches, in carries, and rushing yards, in 4 statistical categories that are 4 giant statistical categories. He's the team leader. That's the guy you pay first. Then you go pay Cooper because you got to pay your number one receiver. The Cowboys tried an experiment this year, said we don't need a number one receiver, and guess what? They gave up on that, 6 weeks into the season?
I was going to say, didn't even make it halfway through the season.
That experiment failed 6 weeks into the season and said, oh, that idea failed. Let's trade a first-round pick for that to get rid of that bad idea. So obviously that's a priority. But like you said, Todd, I like Dak. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback, and I sure don't think he's a $100 million quarterback. He's a guy that's going to win you some games, but I don't think he's a guy that you pay top-tier quarterback money to.
I think he's third tier between 16, maybe upwards to $20 million a year, and that's it. I'll say this, Casady and I were talking about this before the show. We're going to find out just what Dak Prescott is now. But we're going to find out because he has Randall Cobb, he has Amari Cooper, he has Ezekiel Elliott, and now Travis Fredericks, their outstanding center, after that strange disease, rare disease that kept him out last year. is back with the club, reportedly looks good. You're going to have the best offensive line. If this guy can't get it done this year, I think you find out real quick what he is.
And unfortunately, I think Jerry's probably going to pay him before this
You're
year.
exactly right.
That's
Kate.
my
He's
worry.
going to give him the grade before he takes the test.
You're right.
And I don't like that.
I just there's no better scenario for Dak than what he's going to be walking into this season with the Cowboys. They just they're going to be loaded at the skill positions that he needs in order to succeed as a quarterback, and then playing behind that line. If you can't at least find ways to move the ball down the field and put up a lot of points with all the weapons that he has around him, then he's not worth a starting quarterback position in the NFL because, again, he just has everything handed to him this year. I think I was a huge Dak fan after his rookie season. I thought that he was the quarterback of the future, but I just always wondered, can he duplicate that season? And so far, the answer has been no. And if he doesn't come back close to what he did in that first year, and it was mainly just game management and just finding ways to
13-3,
win.
I mean,
yeah. He was a great quarterback for what they needed at that time. But you don't pay a game manager quarterback the kind of dollars that he's about to get from Jerry Jones.
I mean, you're talking about Aaron Rodgers money. You're talking about Matthew Stafford money, which I think he's overpaid. Obviously, much more than Tom Brady makes, more than Drew Brees makes. I mean,
Which is crazy.
Yeah, he's just not in those guys' level. I'm sorry. He's an adequate NFL quarterback. I just don't know if he's the difference for $30 million of where the Cowboys are today and eventually winning a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. He's not a guy that has been making deep, NFC Championship runs the last decade like some of those quarterbacks you just named.
I think Jerry Jones is about to write a check for the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. He's not about to write a check for Dak Prescott, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. He's writing a check for the guy who should be the stereotypical Dallas Cowboys quarterback, and that guy should get that kind of money, but I don't think that guy is Dak Prescott.
You know what? I hope next year we're sitting here talking about this very same thing, and we're all three wrong.
Same, yeah.
But I've seen this movie before. I've seen the ending before. Jerry falls in love with somebody. He writes a big check. To heck with what else it means. And he loves doing it with his head coach, and he loves doing it with his quarterback. And I think this is going to be a typical Jerry Jones move that is going to prohibit the Cowboys long-term from being as successful with this group as they possibly could be. PGA Championship used to be the last chance at glory. Now is the second chance at glory. It is this weekend at Bethpage up in New York. And Tiger Woods, the favorite going in, no surprise. For the first time in 10 years, I think Tiger Woods actually can win a major.
Yeah.
He's already proven that. My question with Tiger is, though, he has not picked up a golf club competitively since he won his fifth green jacket back in April at the Masters. What's you guys' thoughts?
Oh, man. Honestly, with Tiger, I think we've seen it before. He takes...
And I will say this, I think he's made a wise career decision by not playing a bunch of tournaments.
I totally agree. We've seen this in the past where he would have played 2 or 3 tournaments between the Masters and where we are now, and he's taking his time. He's been going up and playing Bethpage, I think, quite a bit from what I've seen in the media. But again, I think he should have done something in between there, at least one tournament, even if he just goes out and just goes through the motions, just to be in that competitive environment and to get your mentality the way that it needs to be heading into a major championship. I would have preferred to have seen him get warmed up that way, but I think if there's anyone in golf that can just flip a switch and turn it on, Tiger showed that he still has that switch.
Exactly.
It was a little rusty there for about a decade, but he's finally flipped it back, and I think he's going to go out there with all the confidence in the world. And now, can you imagine going out for him and playing all the weight that's been on his shoulders since 2008, and now it's finally off of him? I'm just interested to see what the guy looks like out there, because I have a feeling he's going to have the most fun of anyone playing golf this weekend. Whether or not he wins, he's going to be having a great time. But I do see him up there competing in the top 10 because it's a great course for him. He knows it well, and he's hot coming off of a major win.
And imagine if he wins this. I mean, we talked about it after the Masters, that Tiger intimidation was back in the Masters. If he goes, these weeks without playing, wins this tournament, that Tiger intimidation is back. I guarantee you the next tournament he plays in, those guys are going to shoot high scores because that Tiger intimidation is going to be back. Because I'm with you, Casady. I like for his career that he hasn't played the last few rounds, but the fact is that he's still on that high of the Masters win, and to come back down to reality, to come back and focus like that, I think it's going to be a tough move. So I like where Tiger's at right now, but I don't like him to win this tournament. But boy, do I hope I'm wrong, because by God, if he wins this thing, golf, we talked about it being back, but if he goes back to back on 2 majors with that break, oh boy, look out, golf world. Look out.
Yeah.
All right, my favorite, I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka. And it just, I know that that's not a big deal, but this guy played pretty bad in the final round and still had a chance to hunt Tiger down at Augusta a month ago. The guy just is a big game Brooks when it comes to majors.
Yeah.
Played pretty well last week at the Byron Nelson. Didn't win it down in Dallas, but was in the top 4 or 5, I think. I like Koepka. Dustin Johnson, I think his game sets up very well on this course.
Yes.
It's a long course. DJ, of course, is a very long player. 2 guys that I like as long shots, I like Schauffele. He's 25-1 or 30-1, I think, and Tony Finau. Finau has really started to announce his presence on the PGA Tour as well. I think he's maybe a 30-1 favorite or long shot. So those are kind of the guys I think to watch for this week, of course, along with Tiger. Now I can say it. I thought Tiger would never win another major. Now that he has, I think he may win 1 or 2 more.
Sorry, Todd. I got to interrupt you real quick. Justin Thomas is going to be out with a wrist injury this weekend, so not in the running this year. But they just announced that today, so no worries, man. You're about an hour behind ESPN. Don't worry.
I'm not. I didn't talk about Justin Thomas.
I thought you just said Dustin Johnson.
I said Dustin Johnson.
There
Brooks Koepka, but that's good news. Good
there
stuff.
We go. Well,
there,
see, they're trying to correct you, and I'm wrong anyway. But it's Justin Thomas, not Dustin Johnson. I'm sorry.
Hey, do you want to come over here and host this thing?
No, I'll stay where I'm at. But
all
right.
Another guy that I would throw in there, I think Rory is always going to be in contention in majors, especially the way that he's been playing as of late. Rory McIlroy, a guy that's always just like you're saying,
having a great
big
year
game
this year.
Brooks. Yes, I think Rory is another guy that turns it on for the majors. Ricky Fowler, always a solid pick. He has gotten so
always
close so
a
many times.
bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yes, so he's gotten so close so many times. I wonder if maybe this is the time that he actually does break through.
He's another one of those guys, Casady, that when he does break through, he's going to win several.
Exactly.
Yes.
I've been picking Ricky for the last few majors just because it's like you said, he's just there, Todd. Like that bridesmaid and bride is the perfect example because he's right there. He just hasn't taken that final step to cross that threshold and finish at the top of the leaderboard on a major. So I think it's Ricky's time soon. When will that be? I don't know, but I think it's going to be soon.
Yeah, and look, again, another guy, you mentioned him, Dustin Johnson, with his length and on that course, he is going to tear it up. It's what can he do around the greens, and can he not have that one round that always seems to just blow him out of the water? If he can be consistent for 4 days straight, Dustin, another guy that could have a very good chance at winning this.
All right, those are our picks and preview of the PGA Championship. Stay tuned. Coming up next, it is the legendary coach of Oklahoma Baptist University Bison baseball, Bobby Cox. He will join us as the Bison head off to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for the NCAA Central 1 Regional Tournament later this week. That's coming up next. This is episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports, a weekly presentation of VIBELAND Media.
Hi, we are VIBELAND. We are a creative network fostering and cultivating growth amongst a community of artists and innovators.
Here at HQ, we inspire young entrepreneurs to pursue their ideas and fulfill their highest ambitions. From producing albums to shooting multimedia content to our involvement with various charitable organizations within our local community, we seek to empower and spread knowledge through open source innovation.
We here at VIBELAND look forward to the future and hope you will join us on this exciting journey. Create, innovate, educate. VIBELAND.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to our second segment of episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports. I'm Todd Miller. We're talking with legendary OBU baseball coach Bobby Cox today. He's in his 35th year on Bison Hill. 33-19 of the Bison this season, and the Red Hot heading into the NCAA Central 1 Regional Tournament this week in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, having won 13 straight. Coach, thank you for taking time to join us. Pretty special trip for you, the coaching staff, and the players last week up in Enid.
Oh, Todd, we couldn't have mapped it out any better and played any better. And, all phases, pitching, defense, offense, it was fun to watch them. Really hadn't done that, at any length, all spring long. There's been glimpses of it every once in a while, but just not that consistent. And, for that weekend, we were as good, I thought, as we could have been. There's no question.
I want you to talk about your pitching staff, because this has been unlike any other team of the four that I've been around you, in the fact that you don't really have a 1, 2, and 3 guy that's been set like in past years. But everybody seemed to really step up over the last month of the regular season into the postseason.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's been a it's been a challenging task trying to juggle it all and get everybody going and knowing who to go to, who not to go to, who's hot, who's not. We've just been so inconsistent, as a staff in general. And you felt it was coming on the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it was kind of one step forward, 2 back, and just trying to figure it out. And then this weekend, like I said, those guys, everybody that was called on had their A game and just kind of gave us what we thought going into the season, maybe what we would get all year. And they just, it was fun to watch for one weekend anyway.
For our fans and listeners that aren't familiar with your program, I want to talk about Caleb Bly, because I thought he was really the guy that stirred the mix for you on the mound last weekend. He goes out, gives you 6 2/3. That was the Bly that you had seen as a freshman, but coming off some offseason arm problems, really hadn't pitched that well. You roll the dice, he goes out, gives you 6 2/3, and then your staff is really set up for the championship round.
Yeah, he hadn't thrown like that since a year ago. I mean, we haven't seen that. I mean, we haven't even seen glimpses of it, to be honest. Maybe one inning here or there. It's just been a struggle for him all year to regain that, I don't know, confidence or just the ability to make pitches. It's just been a struggle all year. And to his credit, I mean, he's never wavered in his desire to get better. A lot of times guys like that, when it's not going their way on the mound, a lot of times will come up with what I want to say, arm injuries or soreness or discomfort, and kind of back out of it. And he never did that. He stayed to it and just kept working and working. And finally, on the biggest stage, against the best offensive team in the conference, he had his best game. So it was I know it was fun for him, and it was a real pleasure for the coaches, for sure.
You have a lot of great kids on your team, and you've got some kids that have gone through adversity to get to this point in their career. Some of those as seniors, and one I want to talk about is A.J. Merkel. He has really been a bulldog for you in the last month of the regular season. Went the distance again to your opening round victory over Southern Arkansas last Saturday.
He's kind of the word. I don't know. Chris and I talked about it. When he stepped up and became our Friday night guy, that's when things started to start shifting. The worm turned, or however you want to say it, because it gave us that stability on that Friday night, the confidence to go into a series, go deep. He CG'd down at Magnolia against Southern Arkansas Tech. That kind of was when he reached his potential. That's kind of when we started to turn it around as a team. And like I said, he's he's battled through a lot of stuff, and which a lot of guys would have quit and checked it in and went on, and he didn't. He never did. He just kept his head down, kept working, and finally saw the fruits of his labor, that last month, no question.
Bobby Cox, head baseball coach at Oklahoma Baptist University in Shawnee, is our guest on episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports. Coach, you've been at this a long time, but have you ever dealt with anything the way you really have the last couple of springs? I mean, the fall was even wet where you didn't get a lot of outdoor work, and then it's cold, damp. I mean, it takes teams a long time to hit their stride, and maybe a reason why your ball club didn't do so until the final month, a lot because of the weather and the schedule being shuffled so much.
Yeah. It was a challenge. I think this ball club is offensively is predicated on the home run, and it's built around that. It's built around that at our ballpark, and we just had a lot of north wind days, and we're just not built to small ball and steal bases and bunt and hit and run and all of that. And it probably had some effects on us early, some games that just cold north wind, and would you just, all of a sudden those are just pretty fly balls and not going anywhere. And when it warmed up and we started to get a little more of a normal spring south wind, offensively we just took off, and that's just the way we're built, and we try to recruit that way because of our ballpark, and a lot of the ballparks in the GAC are situated for good south wind days, and that's what we try to do. And when that north wind's crawling over that left field wall, it makes it a little tougher, no doubt. So it was a challenge. It was all the above.
Bison, first-time Great American Conference postseason tournament champions after going 4-0 at David Allen Memorial Ballpark in Enid last week. Their head coach, Bobby Cox, is our guest here on VIBELAND Sports. Coach, you went through the not the Great American Conference, the Sooner Athletic Conference for many years, which was probably the top baseball league in the country. How would you compare the Great American Conference at the Division II level to the Sooner Athletic Conference back in its day?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to do. It's just totally, I think it's in every phase. If you go back 20 years in the old SAC, NAI, that was extremely high level of baseball with the Lubbock Christians and OCU when they were at their best, and even Northwestern had good clubs, Southern Naz, Wayland Baptist, they were all extremely good, and this conference is extremely good. It's just a different style of baseball, I would say, and the coaches in this league are all at the top of their game, and everybody works hard at it. Everybody scouts, everybody recruits hard. It is from top to bottom. It's a pretty competitive league, and every weekend you just really don't know how it's gonna work out.
In Division II, wouldn't you say the level is better just because of the depth on the pitching staffs? You guys were an exception to that a couple of years ago when you won the NCCAA National Championship, basically with 3 starters and a couple of relievers. But depth, especially on the mound, is big in D2, isn't it?
It is. It was important 20 years ago, but it is definitely important. At any level, and yeah, we were fortunate those first couple of years in the conference. We had 2 or 3 really horses that could get CG games and go deep into games and eat up a lot of innings, and were just quality guys. So we didn't have to have 12 guys to try to get through it, because those guys we gave them the ball, and they more than likely were going to give it back to you at the end of the game. And this year it's kind of been more of a team mixing it, matching it, and so it's just different.
What has been the reason for the success developing pitchers over there? I mean, you have two right now that are playing professional baseball, and one in Taylor Hearn, who within the last 5 weeks made his professional debut with the Texas Rangers. I guess that dispels the theory that you have to play at a high level of college baseball to be found, right?
Yeah, I think with pitching and specifically in pitching, because at the small college level, the radar gun is pretty much a good lie detector. When you go with position guys, it's a little more dicey because of they're not seeing maybe 90 every weekend like they do in the SEC or wherever. So it's a little more subjective on evaluation for professional scouts and on. But for pitchers, they crank out that radar gun and it tells you real quick if you're capable or not of pitching at the next level. Oh, we've just been fortunate, blessed to have some guys believe in us and trust us, and just fortunate the guys that came here and like I said that believed in what we do, and Coach Painter does a great job with the pitching staff, and they work extremely hard, and we've been real fortunate to have some real gifted arms come through the program.
Bobby Cox in his 35th year at OBU, and Shawnee is our guest here on episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports. A couple of other guys I want to talk to, and then we'll talk about, and then we'll get to discussing the upcoming regional. Jake Gozzo, I think this guy's got a chance to be very good at the next level, don't you? I mean, he seems to have all the tools, the arm, the big bat. He's also got pretty good speed.
Yeah, he's a tool guy. He's real tools. He is, they would say, professional baseball, and he's kind of I think he's a late bloomer, and most big guys, tall guys like that, it takes a while to mature and to stay connected with the swing and learn your swing and just learn the game. And he really has had a monster senior year, and we hope he gets a chance at the next level. That'd be awesome for him because he's worked extremely hard at it, and we hope he gets afforded that opportunity. But no doubt he checks all the boxes as far as I can see.
Ramon Enriquez, this guy is as tough as boot leather. I mean, he has caught every single game, coach, of your season this year, and yet he is right up near the top of almost every statistical category on this ball club. You have to be salivating, I would think, looking into the future as to how this guy projects when he doesn't have to play every single day.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've and to his credit, I mean, he's never asked out of a game. He's never he's taken a beating, caught, like you said, every game. And there's, you catch back to back to back, and hey, he just straps it on and gives you best effort every day. And you never hear a complaint or he's just ready to play. And you got to love coaching and being around guys like that have that type of bulldog mentality. And like I said, yeah, his offensive numbers are pretty incredible considering the workload that he has every day with this pitching staff. And like I said, it's not been one of the easier pitching staffs to catch. So he's had to work extremely hard, and to have those kind of numbers is pretty impressive. Hopefully we won't have to do that again to him next year.
I know going into this season, you thought this team had a chance to be really, really special offensively, but because of the conditions, the weather that we've already documented, a lot of times the wind blowing in your ballpark. Did you see this lineup being as prolific, Bobby, as it is right now with 83 home runs, almost the all-time home run total for a single season for Bison baseball?
No, I'll be honest. No, I didn't. I'm such a poor judge of talent. I talked to him about it in the fall. Hey, you guys aren't going to hit home runs like that. And we tried to work on small ball stuff and all of that all fall. And so that just shows you, how I can assess talent. But yeah, it's been I've been amazed. They've just, guys have just done it on a consistent basis. all up and down the lineup. It's not just, Jake. We knew he could put up those kind of numbers because we saw it the year before, but the rest of them have just, man, it's been fun to watch.
I'm glad you bring that up because on the broadcast at times this year, I've made mention of two guys, Garrett McKee at the top of the lineup and Brock Carter in the number 7 spot. Those guys have put up really good numbers, especially Garrett, and they have come completely out of nowhere, if you will, from their first season at the Division II level to now the end of their senior season.
Yeah, that's a credit. They're cage rats. I mean, they just work, and they're just. It's been. As a coach, it's fun to watch guys that are just constantly working at their craft, trying to get better, trying to make sure they have that good senior year. You try to emphasize to them that, leave nothing in the tank, no regrets. And man, those two guys there's a core of those guys that just have wore the batting cages out and made some adjustments in their swings, made some adjustments in how they approach. And they couldn't have had better senior years. And two guys that big difference makers for us, guys that were bottom of the lineup guys for us last year, have just been major components to what we do offensively.
Bobby Cox of Oklahoma Baptist University is our guest. Coach, before we break down your Central Region 1 tournament, I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like the NCAA, in terms of baseball postseason, needs to rethink the way they are putting teams in regionals? I know you're in a Central region, but you guys have quite a trip. It's going to be a flight up to Sioux Falls for you this week. And then Arkansas Monticello, almost 1,000 miles away from Augustana, is going to that regional as well. Can they not move the GAC around like in the South or South Central region? Would you like to see more of that?
Well, the NAI did that about, it's probably been 15, 20 years ago. We were in the beginning, we were regionally located. Everything was region by region, and we went into one regional down at Dallas Baptist with Dallas Baptist, Oklahoma City, Lubbock Christian, St. Mary's, Houston Baptist. There was like eight teams in that regional, and 6 of them were nationally rated, and it's like only one team got to go out of that. And then they decided to break it up now the way they do it, where they try to get the 9 best teams to the World Series. When you used to go to the World Series, it'd be, 4 good teams and just 4 terrible teams. And now they get the best teams there. And that's kind of the biggest surprise I've seen adjustment wise from the NCAA, is just like, like the regional at Central Missouri. There's 3 MIAA teams out of the 4 that's there. And it's like, those guys have just got through beating up on each other in the regular season and in an 8-team tournament. Now they're going right back to Warrensburg and doing it all again. It just seems like you could spread it out a little bit and get to see different teams in different areas. It's unique. I didn't expect to see it that way, but that's kind of the way they want it.
You win the Great American Conference. You've won 13 straight. Your reward is to go and play the number 1 ranked team in the region and the defending national champions, Augustana Vikings. But that region of 4 teams that you're in, power packed, you're the 8th seed. Augustana 40-14, Minnesota State 39-13, and of course a team that won the conference championship out of the league, 33-14 UAM. That's a murderer's row, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's I don't know how much better you'd need to be. Whoever comes out of it, I would say, would be pretty good going forward if you can come out of that. In baseball, when it's a short weekend like we just saw, especially a 4-teamer, if you got 3 pretty good arms, you can win it. It's pretty. Doesn't really test depth and everything to that extent. So it's you better be playing well at the right time and hold your hat, because it'll be over with before you know it.
You knew going into Selection Sunday your name would be in a bracket. Were you guys maybe surprised the way you've been playing lately that you drew the number 8 seed in that region?
Not really. Uh, I think from what little experience I've had with this, I think the majority of the respect goes to MIAA and Northern Sun out of this region. I think the GAC is for some reason, and I like I said, I haven't been in it long enough to know. It just doesn't seem to garner uh, the national respect that those other two do. Even though, you know, Henderson went to the World Series 2 or 3 years ago. I think we've for the GAC to get more respect. I think it needs to start winning and go into World Series, and then I think it'll probably garner a little more respect nationwide than maybe what it does now.
Okay, you guys have been playing playoff baseball, I think, for some time. I thought you really felt like going to Enid, you had to win all four to securely
Yeah.
be in a regional tournament. So the pressure is not on you right now, but boy, did you get a tough draw with the defending national champions in Augustana. And I don't know, Coach, if there could be, in talking to you earlier, any more difference between two teams than the way OBU plays offensively and the way the Vikings play.
No doubt, it'll be a contrast, and it'll be interesting to watch, and it'll be fun. Like I said, if you're a real competitor, you like to match up with the best in the country. And this is, maybe the first time that we at the D2 level, we did it a lot at the NAI level, but at the D2 level, actually get to say, line up with the best nationwide. Then you can kind of be a good measuring stick to see where you need to go from here. But yeah, it'll be two contrasting styles, I would imagine, and we're looking forward to it. The guys are excited.
Their pitching staff is very, very good, but I think you like your offense against about anybody's pitching staff. Does it kind of come down the way it always does in the postseason, just who can pitch better for 3 days?
I think so. I think that old adage, good pitching will be good hitting, I think is true for the most part. And so we've got to get strong performances. When you get at that level, when you're playing those good of people, the odds of hanging 10 12 runs is not going to be realistic. So you're going to have to match up on the mound, and get good quality, good depth out of your starters, if you're gonna win.
Last year, you went into the postseason, I thought, and you would probably agree, pretty thin in terms of pitching depth. That's something that you bolstered in the offseason. Do you feel like you're set up well pitching to make a run deep into the NCAA tournament?
Well, I feel better about it now than I did a month ago. A month ago, I wouldn't have said that, but with the emergence of Caleb, and Andrew Eppenbach has done a great job for us in a number of roles, and Shane Kelso has started to be more consistent with his pitches. It's I don't know that it would be deep enough to win a 8-team double elimination like it was set up last year. It sets up a lot better for us with a 4-team than it does a large 8-team double elimination bracket. I don't know that we would have had enough to have stayed at the full length of a tournament with that setup.
I'm going to ask you this question. For the first time, really, since you left the NAI, you guys have been in a learning curve. I mean, you learned about the NCCAA. You're kind of in a probationary period with D2. Last year, you finally are eligible to qualify for the postseason. That was a learning experience. Do you feel like you're not going into this postseason, the GAC tournament, and now the regional, with necessarily blinders on?
Yeah, you could tell our guys, the guys who were with us last year, there was a lot more confidence in what they knew what they were expecting in Enid, and knew what they were going to be up against. And yeah, I would agree with that. We still have a lot of new faces, but we had this ball club had a lot of good leadership on it from guys who came back that wanted a better experience in Enid. And you talk about the elimination. I thought, from the last 3 series of the
Yep.
year were elimination games for us, and we talked about it. Hey, we're in a single elimination tournament from here out, and we gotta check it off, and we did, and including the UCO that midweek where we came in and really played well against an outstanding opponent, and they just approached it as a single elimination the last 12 games of the year, and that's pretty tough to do in baseball.
I sensed a different attitude in the conference championship game in Enid last weekend. Like, all right, we're not just here. We've got the pitching to do this. Let's close out Harding. Do you feel like the experiences of last year at Southern Arkansas in the region tournament in the NCAA will pay off and help you again this weekend?
Well, you hope so. Every year's different. Every club's different. I think, we as a club probably last year, we understood our limitations and on that end. We knew going into that Southern Arc final, we needed to win the first game. And if we had to go to an if game, it was going to be very difficult. And it was. And it was the same thing going down to Southern Arc. You felt like you going into that first game, you needed a really strong performance, and we were unfortunate when we played Central Missouri, who was extremely good and extremely talented and exploited a lot of our weaknesses. And hopefully we'll learn. Hopefully we'll be able to stay up there in Sioux Falls a little longer.
One thing's for certain, Coach. It's nice to be past Mother's Day. Mid-May, you still have your guys around you, and you're still playing baseball.
That's right. It's better than doing exit meetings, I guarantee you.
This team really seems like they like each other and they want to continue playing. I mean, don't you get that sense being around them?
Yeah, they're a tight knit group, high character guys. I've talked about it all year to people. Just enjoyable to be around every day, and in coaches' terms, it was kind of a low maintenance group. They took care of their business every day. I didn't have to worry about coming to the office and what problems I were going to have to deal with, or disgruntled, somebody not happy, or blah blah blah. And they just come to the field every day ready to go. And even when we were scuffling, when we couldn't protect a 16-run lead against Oklahoma Christian.
Yeah.
You just kind of hit rock bottom, and with good character guys, you can do those kinds of things and get it turned around. And the opposite's true with the others. That kind of game was kind of a tell. You were going to make a decision at that point which way you were going, and when you're dealing with good people and guys who want to do the right thing, then you've got a chance to do what we did this weekend and have a really special moment with them.
2 more questions, then I'll let you go. 1, how difficult is it this time of year? You find out last night, fairly late, the show started at 9:00. Oh, by the way, in 3 days you have to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's not as easy to get to. It's been kind of hectic around the baseball offices, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been, and like I said, when you got two good assistants like we have that they can handle that kind of stuff, it makes it a lot easier on an old coach, because they jump right in with both feet and get it done, and that's pretty much the way they've been the whole way down the line with recruiting and running. I'm very blessed to have those 2 young men work with me.
The 2 he's talking about, his son, Chris Cox, and, of course, Cody Painter, who I think is one of the best in the business at Division II level as far as a pitching coach is concerned. My last question for you, how special is it to get to share in all this success personally for you and with your team, but your son right there helping you every step of the way?
Well, it's been a tremendous blessing. He's been a part of the OBU family since he was old enough to walk, and he went to the first World Series with me in Lewiston, Idaho, and has been around the program the whole time. Went paid his dues at the junior college level, and the opportunity afforded us to for him to be able to come back and I'd be able to watch him every day grow as a coach and a young man, and see him develop into what he's become. I couldn't be a more blessed dad or coach or father or husband. It's been amazing.
Coach, I appreciate you, man. I have so much
All right.
respect for you and admiration for you. I look forward to seeing you in Sioux Falls.
You bet. Thanks, Todd.
Bobby Cox in his 35th season at OBU, our guest. We'll be back to wrap it up in just a moment. Back for a final segment of episode 21 of VIBELAND Sports. Again, a big thank you to Bobby Cox, one of the best guys, one of the best coaches, Casady, you're going to find. We both have had the good fortune of working around Coach Cox. And again, as successful as he is as a coach, the influence that he has on young men off of the baseball diamond is even more impressive.
Oh, man. And he's a great guy and an unbelievable baseball mind. And the way that he prepares players for the next level, the way that he prepares players for their next stage in life, he takes just as much pride in seeing that a pitcher go on and be a successful businessman as he does seeing a pitcher go on and get drafted and go to the next level. Just a huge thank you to Coach Cox for coming on, and best of luck to the Bison as they come up. Maybe we'll see them win a regional here.
Be sweet, I can tell you that. He's the man affectionately known as Boss by his coaches and his players. Let's get to the fan poll question of the week. Last week, it was, which former Thunder player do you dislike more? No surprise, Kevin Durant, 77%. James Harden garnered just 23% of the vote. Thank you for logging on to our Twitter account at VIBELAND Sports and showing us your opinion. This week, we were talking about Dak Prescott. Let's throw that in as the question. If you were the Dallas Cowboys, what would you do right now with Dak Prescott? Would it be A, an extension with a lesser AAV? If you're wondering what that is, that's average annual value. Would it be B, re-sign for $30 or more million, or C, let him test free agency? A, extension with lesser AAV. B, re-sign for $30 or more million. C, let him test free agency. If you are the Dallas Cowboys, what would you do right now with Dak Prescott? That is this week's VIBELAND fan poll question of the week. Before we get out of here, we need to acknowledge Central Oklahoma as well. The Broncos and OBU are the two Division II schools still playing in the NCAA tournament, as UCO will be the number 6 seed in the Central 2 region tournament. They will be in Warrensburg, Missouri to take on number 3 St. Cloud State. The other is a matchup between the 2-seeded Mules of Central Missouri and the 7th seed Missouri Southern State Ball Club. So congratulations both to OBU and UCO on qualifying for regional play.
And just one other little fun sports nugget I wanted to get out there. The state of Oklahoma and college softball right now. Yeah. It is unbelievable. University of Oklahoma, number 1 team at the Division I level. UCO Broncos, number 1 at the D2 level. At the NAIA level, you have USAO, who's number 1. And then at the JUCO level, you have Seminole State, number 1. So all 4 number 1s in the major 4 conferences or divisions in college, all coming from the state of Oklahoma right now.
Awesome.
So, yeah, a lot of fantastic softball being played around, and, just check it out. You're going to see some good players.
Cool stuff. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or Instagram at VIBELAND Sports, on Facebook, VIBELAND Sports, and, of course, give us a follow or subscribe to our podcast at Apple Podcast or Spotify. We're here each and every week, and we hope you enjoy our podcast. Again, we love good or bad feedback. So, again, you can tweet us at VIBELAND Sports if you like something, if there's a future guest you would like to hear, or you just like to say that, it's not very nice of Kelby to try to call out the host of the show. Good job today, KP.
I'm just trying to bring the correct information forward, whether it's the right or wrong name.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for Kelby and for Casady. I'm Todd Miller. We'll see you again next week on another edition of VIBELAND Sports, a weekly media production from VIBELAND Media.